I'm Natalia Arno, President of the Free Russia Foundation, and I welcome everybody at this Atlantic Council event on the Russian elections. And as I said, I represent the Free Russia Foundation, but I am first and foremost still a citizen of the Russian Federation, and I am going to go and vote this Sunday of September 18.
Really? For Gudkov?
Let me thank our audience today for your interest and to Russia and to such an important event as Russian elections. Let me also thank the Atlantic Council for your idea and for the organization of this panel discussion. And let me remind you that our previous joint event on the Russian parliamentary elections was held at the Atlantic Council on June 9 in partnership with the Institute of Modern Russia and the Free Russia Foundation, and with participation of Khodorkovsky and others. So thank you for your interest and for being our good friends and colleagues all the time. And of course, let me thank our panelists of today's discussion. Let me introduce them. Unfortunately, two panelists will join us a little bit later, again, due to the very intensive campaign schedule. So the first panelist is Roman Udot. Roman is a co-chair of the Golos Movement. And Golos is a very respected Russian organization, an election watchdog that survived numerous governmental crackdowns and is always under pressure from the Russian authorities. So Roman, thank you for joining us, and thank you for all your work that you and your colleagues are doing. Really, really appreciate all that. And our other panelist will be Ekaterina Vinokurova. She's a popular Russian political journalist, and she's a special correspondent for Znak.ru. And previously, she was a parliamentary and later Kremlin's correspondent for Gazeta.ru. So Katya will join us a little bit later. And my special thanks to Dmitry Gudkov. He's a current member of the Russian parliament, and also he's a candidate for this State Duma office, and has lots of difficulties and challenges of his campaign. So he'll join us, but a little bit later. And it's very interesting that he's running in a single mandate district of Moscow. Surprisingly, 4 US locations are also included to this Moscow single mandate district of Tushinsky, and people, Russian citizens with Russian passports, will be able to go to 4 consulates and vote for Dmitry Gudkov, or his opponents, but hopefully for Dmitry Gudkov, in Washington, DC, in Boston, in Miami, and in Chicago. So again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, the Atlantic Council. And before we start discussing with Roman, let me just say a few words about these elections. People both in Russia and abroad are discussing these elections mostly as the Russian parliamentary elections. It's of course true, and there are a lot of innovations and a lot of reforms in this regard. But it's also actually the biggest simultaneous regional and municipal campaign in Russia since 1990. And the elections to various regional parliaments will be held in 39 regions, plus 7 regions will be electing the heads of the subjects of the Russian Federation, as we call our regions, and those subjects can be different. That can be krais, oblasts, national republics, and so on. So basically, there are 46 or 44 regional campaigns, because in 2 regions, in Chechnya and in Tver, the elections to the regional parliament and to the and the elections of the head of the region coincided. And also there will be over, if I'm not wrong, Roman, correct me if I'm wrong, there will be over 5,000 municipal campaigns elections as well. So it's very massive, it's very important. It's very important to watch not only parliamentary elections, but also elections of other levels, and there might be some surprises there. Also, when we discuss elections in Russia, very often people, ordinary people, experts, just ignore them or don't want to discuss, because they're saying in such authoritarian regimes like Russia, elections results are predetermined, position is discredited and marginalized, and doesn't have good access. And it's all true. But at the same time, it's very important to, again, to analyze the context, to analyze the entire situation, and to see the prospects for all of us. Yeah, and since the previous election campaign, there were very significant changes, and I would like Roman to expand on them, but just would mention some of them. For example, the elections to the State Duma are going, they are conducting in a mixed system at the moment. So there will be half of the deputies out of 450 Russian State Duma deputies will be elected by party lists, and half in single mandate districts. And also another innovation is that since the previous parliamentary elections, and as we all remember, there was a very big wave of protests because people didn't agree with the election results and felt that lots of votes were stolen, and the government had to do some concessions, and one of them was political party reform. Before that, only 7 registered political parties could participate in elections, and after that reform in 2012, now we have, again, if I'm not wrong, 77 political parties, and about 14 parties are campaigning at the moment. So this is different, and also we used to have 2 election days, and now it's only single voting day, which was also another change, which was moved 3 months earlier from December to September, obviously affecting many parties and candidates, because the peak of the election campaign coincided with the peak of the vacation season, which was obviously beneficial for the ruling party. And there were changes to the election legislation, and Roman, please comment on that, changes of the chairman of the Central Election Commission and how all that impacts the situation now, please. So Roman, what were the new amendments to the election legislation and how it affects the campaigning, the elections?
Okay, thank you for inviting me. The pleasure is mine, and Natalia have told almost everything I was planning to to tell in the beginning. So yes, it's a very special elections in our Duma. If you don't know, it's Parliament of Russia, the lower chamber of the Parliament, and it's the second important, the most important elections after the presidential elections. Yes, and it has a lot of specifics. For the first time, we have a mixed system. Again, I have to repeat these party lists and the single mandates districts, and again, a huge number of parties. Previously, we thought that the authorities, the Kremlin, was trying to imitate American system. And they were reducing day after day, year after year, the number of parties, dropped them down to 7, and we thought that it will be by partisan system. But when the huge number of people came to the streets and protests, they realized that those guys were not represented by any political force, and they did quite opposite. They increased number of parties, and till the end, yes, at the end of this March, we have 75 parties which were able to run for these elections. And again, unfortunately, this liberalization some sort of stopped after crackdown of the 6th of May 2012, and some very vocal and very active political forces like Party of Progress, for example, or Mr. Navalny, they have not received official status, and so we don't have them on the ballot list, and it's a pity. They're still active, and they try to send their representatives to other parties like Yabloko Party or Parnas and so on. But still, we have 75 parties which were able to run. And you have to understand that authorities began preparation for these elections just after the presidential election of 2012. And they began to introduce, amend our legislation. A first crackdown, first blow was the so-called foreign agent law. It was again copied from American law of 1930 something. And according to that law, our organization was declared foreign agent, and we have, since then, we are have been having a huge problems with funding, and Natalia mentioned crackdowns, several, yes, prosecution, fines, and 5 documentaries in prime time of the state-owned TV channels and so on. Then came, but we still were able to observe, and we did it sometimes on a weekly basis, because we have a huge number of by-elections, and that was very useful for us, because it was just like using a drop of blood, as a physicist used to, when a physician used to, when they are trying to assess the illness or disease in our electoral system. And after they realized that it was not possible to stop us from our activities by the foreign agent law, they introduced another amendment. A foreign agent since 2014 are not able to observe at all. It's stated in the law, and it's against us directly, because we don't have any other NGO who is declared a foreign agent and observe elections. It was 2014, the end of 2014. Then came some sort of a lull or period of armistice, maybe, in our fight with us, because after Crimea Anschluss, or adaptation, Crimean Peninsula in the Russian Federation, the authorities enjoyed a huge support, public support, for some period of time. But as you know, economical situation deteriorated, and they realized that they don't have a too bright electoral perspectives. So that's why they shifted their time of elections from December to September. It gave them a huge advantage. For example, almost the whole campaign was during the vacation period in summer, and it was more or less passive and inactive, and that gave them an edge over other parties. Then still they have a problem with the observers, like other social groups, like citizen observers, Sonar, observers of St. Petersburg, and so on. It was some period of time, it was a national sport in Russia to observe elections, and so they were a little bit afraid of that. So they introduced very harsh amendments in the beginning of this year. Katya, привет. And they changed the laws that previously allowed freelance journalists to observe. Now we don't have an opportunity to use freelance journalists, and we have to have a contract with them, and that contract should be signed virtually in a year and a half before the E-Day. And another problem was for ordinary observers, which now should be accredited, and they are chained to one given polling station, and the authorities, we have to warn them in advance, 3 days time, that we are going to observe these particular polling stations. And they have to understand that it's very difficult for us, because when we had previously 10% sample, it was okay for us. It was possible to find everything, because we were acting and surprise. We came to any place we liked. Now we have to warn them in advance, and 10% sample turned into 90% blind spot, and we don't know what's going to happen there, because they are warned in advance that we will not be present on those polling stations. That was a huge blow for us in the beginning of the year. So those were the main amendments they did in preparation for these parliamentary elections. Then they made a very positive from our point of view step, like primaries. Again, they copied American style, not that American style, but still they try to imitate that. They are democratic, they are open, they try to invite all other forces or all other sorts of candidates into the United Russia Party primaries, and the idea was bright, and the Kremlin was thinking that it will be good. But again, the local people, local authorities, they didn't share that optimism, and they made whatever is possible to falsify those primaries, and that was the first wave of the falsification we encountered. Actually, it is family business, it's party business, it doesn't covered by any law at all. So all vote buying, multiple voting, ballot box stuffing went with impunity, but still we were able to record, to document them, and to present them to the public, general public. Then came a period of registration, and for the first time in our history, none of parties, we have two types of parties that have a right, those that have a right to run immediately, and the rest of them have to collect signatures of ordinary citizens to run in the elections. And none of parties were able to collect those signatures because they made those rules so harsh and impossible to stick to. So none of them now is running. Only 14 parties out of, if you remember, 75 parties is able to run, and now they are on list because they have a representative somewhere in some local council and some regional council, regional parliament as we call them. So in this case, we have 14 party lists, parties on the party list now. That was another, I think, a problem for us. The first wave of falsification, now we have a problem with the so-called administrative resource when parties, I mean the ruling party representatives, candidates, they have a huge advantage because they have access to all local media, federal media, and so on. And again, real opposition parties have to find other means like social media and so on to get their messages through. But again, we have a novelty. We don't know. It's always fight between forces of light and forces of darkness. I don't know how to put it. Maybe Kremlin Tower of Light and Kremlin Tower of Darkness. And Kremlin Tower of Light decided that why not to have debates? I mean, the debates between candidates, and now we have a novelty on the federal TV for the first time, maybe in decade, maybe in 5 years. We have such figures like Mr. Kasyanov, ex-prime minister of Russia, and now in opposition to Putin and his groups. And we have now the head of the Yabloko party, Yavlinsky. They are very outspoken. You have to understand, for example, that after inclusion of the Crimean Peninsula, now it's against the law. It's even criminal offense to say that Crimea is not a part of Russia. And still, Yavlinsky and the whole Yabloko party attitude to this, that was made against the international laws, and that should be cancelled or reconsidered. That decision should be reconsidered. So they are on the brink of being accused of criminal crime. That's in short. I think I used all my time so far. Natalia is a little bit anxious, I think.
Yes, let me just specify maybe something. So you mentioned those debates, and before that there was also another novelty, like primaries, and maybe a question to both you and Ekaterina. Hello, Ekaterina, and thank you for joining us. So how real are those procedures? Is it just imitation, as so many things in the Russia nowadays is just an imitation of things? And even the recent photo shoot of President Putin on Red Square with as it was described with bribes before their marriages, and it was only just a fake. It was just ordinary girls, maybe models, just for this event. And so, what about all other procedures? What about these debates? How real they were? How deep the discussion was? Because what I see, I followed some debates. I was reading the analysis of others. And I see that this campaign is one of the most, I don't know, sluggish, the most uneventful, the most with most meaningful slogans. Some experts are saying that sometimes it looks that it's not political advertising of parties or candidates or ideas. It's just maybe, I don't know, ads of recipes of pickles. So how real all these debates and campaigns are? With question both to Roman and to Ekaterina, who joined us recently.
I give the floor to ladies, to Ekaterina, maybe I join later. Katya?
Katya? Okay, I think we lost her. Maybe Roman,
Okay.
What's your opinion?
Okay, it's not my opinion. I'm just one single representative of maybe thousands of observers, and actually we accredited 1,200. It's another way journalists in Central Election Commission. It's another step forward, and I don't know, Kremlin Tower of Lightness. You're right about the sluggishness and the boredom of this election campaign. You have to understand that partially it should be explained by the time, because it was summer, and in summer people don't have enough interest in politics and so on. And again, you have to understand that alternative parties, opposition parties, they don't have enough resources to use them all those campaigning for, as it predicted, stipulated in the law, 28 days of campaign. And in this regard, I think that the good idea for them would be to concentrate on the last days and the last months and last days of the campaign. So, for example, we made an analysis of their activity in media, and it was published yesterday. Yesterday was the last day we were able to publish any type of research, and now it's forbidden, but I show you in secret. For example, yes, you see the rise of activity in Yabloko Party and rise of activity in Party of Rost, Party of Growth. And you see that they're trying to concentrate all their efforts in the last months. Of course, September is not shown because it's not, we're just in the beginning of it, with this month. So I think that partially this is a result of the concentration on the last days, and now we have some campaigning on streets and so on. But of course, you have to understand that the party, ruling party, Единая Россия, United Russia, they were presented in the media, state media, and federal level, local level media. Of course, they dominate there, and they were able, since they have a huge resources, both party and both municipal, they were able to be present all the time. But people bored of them, and you know that people don't like ruling parties because they have huge problems with economy, with politics, and with the freedom of press, and so on. So yes, it looks like boring, but I still hope that in the last days of the campaigning we will see something bright steps. And again, you don't forget that sometimes it's against if you say something too brave, you will be removed from the ballot box list. But 7 and I think 5 days before E-Day, it's not possible to remove you from the ballot for the ballot. And so in this case, maybe they prepared all their harsh critiques and all their maybe brave words and formulations to the last days. So early days yet.
Thank you, Roman, and I'll ask you some more questions a little bit later. I would like to engage Ekaterina at the moment. Hi, Katya, I already introduced you. Thank you for joining us. Also, same question as Roman, and maybe even broader. Many experts are saying that this parliamentary campaign is very, very uneventful, very boring. There are no competition of ideas. Maybe there is some competition in regions, maybe some, again, or in some single mandate districts, but not at the federal level, not at the parliamentary level. And the United Russia looks like they feel okay. Maybe their ratings are decreasing, but again, the recent poll showed like 2% increase, we see that the Communist Party and the Just Russia Party almost don't campaign much. There are really few political ads on TV, and many analysts are saying that the biggest intrigue now who is going to be number 2, and looks like maybe Zhirinovsky Liberal Democratic Party will be at the second place. What's your, you are writing about elections, about different parties. What's your perception, what's your opinion about this campaign? Is it really so boring and absolutely nothing to observe?
Well, Natasha, I'd like to tell about two points about this campaign. The first point is that from the 14th year since the Crimea situation, every day and every night the war will begin, and then waiting a war catastrophe and other and disaster, and people grew tired of this nervous situation, and now they are tired of politics itself. Mm-hmm. There is no nervous system which can survive. And the second point is that it is the campaign in the center of the economy. Even huge political parties, even United Russia, has problems with money. Mm-hmm. They just don't have called an interesting campaign. And the third point is about, it's very sad to say, but I think that our opposition, democratic opposition, comes to the elections day in the worst condition you can ever imagine. And they are very busy because they are arguing, they are not with United Russia. They are arguing who is bought by Kremlin and who is Kremlin's.
No, we don't hear. Ekaterina, can you repeat the last point? We lost you for a moment. Hello? Okay, while Ekaterina is trying to reconnect with us, Roman is still here?
Yes.
Excellent. So there is a question from Twitter.
That some years ago.
Katya is trying to reconnect with us. Okay, I'll have to tell her that. Mm-hmm. I did. So if an audience has any questions to our panelists, please you can ask on Twitter, and you can use it with hashtag #ACRussia. And so there is one actual question from Twitter. Roman, could you answer, please? In what ways will the Kremlin benefit from changing the date of the election from December to September? Why was it done?
And it's very interesting because it was done against the Constitution. They have to make an amendment in Constitution just for 2 or 3 months. And we thought that they predicted and they anticipated that there will be huge problems in the economy. And for them, those 2 months will be crucial. And again, the campaigning during the summer will give them, would give them, and it gave them, as we now see, advantage because they have a lot of municipal workers on their disposal. They have local authorities who were working day after day through summer, and of course oppositional parties were not able to enjoy this level of visibility, of exposure, media exposure, and so on. So yes, it was done in different calculations. They previously organized their United Days in September. It was the idea, and we have maybe 3 or 4 united electoral days in September again, and I think that they have realized that it's very good, and why not to switch to shift their parliamentary elections to the same fateful month. Yes, I think that the main point from my point of view, because you have to understand that I am observer. I hate to predict. I like to say what I have observed, and but again, the economical situation was deteriorating, and for them it's very difficult to keep up the level of exchange ruble on the foreign exchange market, and the same problem with the oil, with the state budget, and so on. So even 2 months for them were crucial.
Mm-hmm. Right. And another question, well, before the start of this election campaign, Volodin, who was head of the president's administration, made guidelines that these elections should be very sterile. They should be flawless. There shouldn't be any shakes, any reasons for people to protest, and everything is done just really to legitimize this election, and maybe this change of the head of the Central Election Commission is also a step in this direction. And previously, as you remember, we were discussing in previous parliamentary elections, there were different regions in Russia. There were regions of so-called total zone of falsifications, like Republic of Chechnya, Chukotka, Kemerovo, and others, where falsification could be up to, I don't know, more than 90%. There were also places where it was harder to falsify because there was more, I don't know, observation, more just in bigger cities, for example. What is the situation now? What do you expect for this election? Any regions that we should pay specific attention to?
I see Ekaterina online, maybe.
Yes, but please answer this question first, and then we'll ask Katya.
Yes, sure.
Then, as I told you, I hate to predict, but you have to understand, it's a very good point mentioning Ms. Panfilova and her role, because they prepared everything. They prepared their social climate, introducing the idea of foreign agent. They prepared legislation. They limited ability of social organization to observe, of freelance journalists to observe. So they prepared everything, and now they needed somebody with a reputation, with a trust, let's say it. And that was a good idea for them to, I used to call it facelift, yes, to make the face of these elections, which is already prepared for not falsification, for distortion. I'd like to use this because having such huge amendments in the legislation, maybe they will not, and such huge advantage in the media, they even maybe try to avoid direct falsification, outright falsification we used to. So in this case, inviting Ms. Panfilova as chair of the Central Election Commission, it's another good step for them to make a frontman, front woman for this process. And now she's doing great job from our point of view, and we see, and we can say that she made something unthinkable. Now she is a strong cooperation with us, foreign agents, spies, whatever, and we are invited to meetings of the Central Election Commission in some working group. We prepared some guidelines for the commissions, and now, as I told you, for the first time in my life, I have a huge stack of accreditation from all other countries, but for the first time in my life, I received accreditation from my own country, and they accredited 1,200 let's say she accredited to 1,200 of our observers. Unthinkable, but the system is in place, and you don't forget about the huge wave of falsification during primaries. And during primaries, the same people who used to falsify them during state-run, state-level elections, they were using their skills and tactics and tricks during primaries, and they are ready. And if some signal would be that, okay, guys, go on, no problems will be for you if you falsify, they do it because they are just prepared to do it, and they know how. Yes, and they know how. They trained into falsification, but we are trying to find them. So that's why we are again under crackdown from the dark tower of Kremlin. On one hand, the head of the Central Election Commission cooperates with us, maybe weekly or daily. Now, on another hand, state-run TVs like NTV published two documentaries about Golos activities, and they're trying to tarnish our reputation, so on.
Thank you, Roman. Ekaterina, let's try to engage you again. So my question was about very boring way of this election campaign, that really no parties really compete and campaign, at least at the parliamentary federal level, and the real competition is maybe in regions and in single mandate districts and municipal at the municipal level and so on. Does any party or any candidate stand for you, any region? What can you say about this current election campaign in Russia?
I tried to say that the previous time that it is the campaign in this in the conditions of financial crisis, so the parties do not have just money to hold some bright campaigns. It is the first point. The second point is that people are tired of everyday's politics. They are tired of war. They are tired because we live in since 14th year, and certainly everyone is tired. The third point is that our opposition comes to these elections in the worst condition you can ever imagine, because they spend time arguing with among themselves in Facebook and Twitter, but not with United Russia. And they are trying to again and again they say to each other that you are Kremlin spoiler. No, it's you who are Kremlin spoiler. It's you who arranged negotiations with Putin, but you initiate negotiations with Volodin, and this darkness every day.
Okay. We'll ask the question about opposition and why they are positioned like that when Dmitry Gudkov later join us. But maybe you can say, is it true that right now the biggest intrigue of this parliamentary campaign is who's going to be number 2? That there was maybe an agreement or some apathy from the Communist Party that they don't campaign much. We don't see Zyuganov much on TV, no party campaign ads. The same situation with Mironov and Just Russia Party. But on the opposite, we see Zhirinovsky everywhere, and like if you turn on the iron, Zhirinovsky will be there. And it looks like maybe the authorities are trying to focus, direct all these protest nationalist voters to him, and he obviously can have the second seat. And also, what is your opinion? How many parties will be in this parliament? Again, there are opinions from that it will be a 3-party parliament, or the same party parliament, or it might be a 9-party parliament because of some single mandate districts. So what's your idea on that?
Okay. First, about the communists. The communists certainly the communists are makes our risks for our powers, because, for example, in Siberia they have high ratings, and so they are not shown on TV. But for example, if you come to Siberia, the campaign there is very harsh, and that is why they show Zhirinovsky everywhere, and they are trying to arrange public opinion that Zhirinovsky will be the second. As for me, I don't believe. I don't believe in this scenario. But as Roma, I also don't want to predict anything. If also Just Russia, LDP, Zhirinovsky Party, and communists arranged in the spring of the 60th year negotiations with United Russia about about some districts where United Russia their candidates just don't go into several districts, and these districts are given to these parties. And about three-party parliament, I think that Just Russia has great problems, and that they are on the line of crossing. But also one of the districts will be given to party Rodina, Alexei Zhuravlev, and one district will be given to leader of Civil Platform Party, Rifat Shaykhudinov. So formally, there will be at least 5 parties.
Okay.
Russia, you just should watch my hands, when you are trying to do some fake. I think that the intrigue is with the Yabloko party, because the last 2 days we saw that many journalists and many intellectuals and even famous tennisist Evgeny Kafelnikov wrote that, okay, we will go to the elections and we will vote for Yabloko, because Yabloko made a very good list of candidates, I think, and it's for me, I feel sympathy to my sympathy is about Yabloko, not with Parnas, because Parnas has in its list Kasyanov, who has no charisma, and who likes to spend his time on international events, speaking about human rights in Washington, but not in Russia, and nationalist Maltsev, and very strange person, Professor Zubov, who is Orthodox monarchist, I also want to mention, and Roma, I think Roma will scream at me and now, but I think that Alexei Navalny plays a very negative role in this campaign, because Alexei Navalny is one of the people who are responsible for the break of the Democratic Coalition in spring, because it was he and his team who quitted the coalition and who broke the previous negotiation with Kasyanov. And later I know that Yabloko also made negotiations with them, and they were ready also to add their candidates to Yabloko list, but Navalny preferred to quit, and now he spends his time on telling many negative things about Yabloko, about some independent candidates, and saying that, but me and my unregistered party of progress, we are the best, we are the best, we are the best. Do you remember that we are the best? It's terrible.
Well, I agree. It's a very concerning situation with our pro-democracy opposition, and it's very sad that there is no unification, and maybe it's impossible because it's different political forces, different ideas, and but let's remember the previous strategy, how to vote at the previous parliamentary election, and it was Navalny's idea that our goal was to again so that the ruling party, United Russia, has as least votes as possible, seats as possible, and there was a big campaign calling people to vote for any other party but not for United Russia, and it actually was quite successful. And there was another strategy just to put a cross against each party. As you remember, the strategy Nach that Boris Nemtsov and others were promoting. So is there any common strategy pro-democracy people, what they're going to do, or it's still the debate to go or not to go to vote?
Yes, it's debate to go or not to go, or we should wait. We should wait because one day the power will fall in our hands just itself. And the second strategy is to vote for a party who has a little chance, so it is Yabloko. But if there are people who vote for Parnas party because they like Maltsev's behavior on debates where he demanded impeachment for Vladimir Putin. There is, I think, for example, my friends in my social networks, they prefer Yabloko. And it seems to be quite mess.
There is also another strategy of Mikhail Khodorkovsky to develop future leaders of Russia, not even maybe for the leaders like today or tomorrow, even the day after tomorrow as well. So, and Roman also, what is the main campaign themes for parties? I understand that about the economy, that it's worsening, and obviously people discuss it a lot, and there are a lot of social issues that are being discussed. And previously, Katya, you spoke about this human rights in Washington. I know that in the US presidential election, Russia is a highly discussed subject, and all this Trump, Manafort, Putin connections. highly discussed in the media here. But when I was looking at what is being discussed in the joke on Facebook, then it seems like on September 18th, Russians are going to offer to vote to choose between Hillary or Trump.
Stop, please stop. Natalia, I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I don't
Yes.
understand what.
Yes, I was asking about the campaign themes. What are the main campaign themes of the parties? What they discuss? Do they discuss? Is foreign policy important at all? Sanctions, anything else, or it's more about again internal agenda?
Well.
Katya, maybe you start first.
Okay, because very soon I will need to go, because I have some force majeure about the elections. So Kaparev, Just Russia, and Zhirinovsky are in a very strange situation, because in 14th year they supported Putin and Crimea, and now they have to criticize somebody, and they criticize the government. And United Russia is saying everywhere that they are the party of the president, because their leader, the chairman, Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev, well, he makes more problems for them than good nowadays. The Yabloko and Parnas certainly are a little bit about external politics. They say that we should reestablish the relations with West, and we should put out our anti-sanctions, but also if we see the campaigns in districts, they are more about internal politics, certainly, especially in districts. So I think that now people become less and less interested external politics and this Trump and Hillary stuff, because you know, it's TV, but for example, in 14th year, people on the streets discussed Obama, this United States, but now in the streets, in cafes, when I sit there, I don't hear anything about it.
Okay, Roman, what's your perception?
Roman is absolutely the wrong man to ask about it, because we have to be impartial. We have to observe not the political statements. We observe electoral system. We observe how transparent it is, how commissions are set up, how everything is organized, whether one party has an edge, legal or illegal, over other party. But we don't delve into politics. We don't listen even to those statements. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Our job is a little bit different. Yes, of course we have some political views, but we have to abstain from them and to be totally impartial. I even don't listen to those statements, and I was listening to Ekaterina with great interest because I was completely in the details of functioning of this machinery of the electoral system. That's our job.
Yes, I understand. Should we expect a lower turnout then if the campaign is so uninteresting and uneventful, and like again, people are tired of politics and just have a lot of problems, and the turnout will be very favorable for the authorities again?
Well, I think that there may be some surprises, because, for example, in Moscow, our mayor made everything to shake the situation, because many are made in Moscow, and many people in Moscow are angry now. For example, every rain in Moscow now is a disaster, and it's a joke in our politics establishment that for United Russia the worst thing ever is rain on Saturday in Moscow a day before elections, because it will be a disaster. And I still think that there is an intrigue with Yabloko, and sure, Dmitry Gudkov hasn't joined us yet, but I wish good luck to him, and I think that Dmitry has chances. He also has problems today, and I hope he will solve them.
Yeah, he promised just to join us 10 minutes later. He's finishing his campaign meeting, and hopefully, yes, he's.
Yes, because they have problems, and I think that. So, and again, I want to repeat my main thesis that made everything to do the worst things to their partners in democratic movement. For example, Navalny today he said many negative things about Gudkov's campaign, and maybe his influence may be fatal, but they behave like children.
We'll ask Dmitry about that as well.
Childish behavior.
I agree. They said that about the Russian opposition. We have what we have, and we should support them anyhow. Katya, there are a lot of I don't know, speculations or prognoses that and maybe signs that there might be early presidential elections that will happen in Russia in next March, not in 2018 but in 2017, because again we see that ratings of Putin are decreasing, and they would like probably to actualize his and energize his base support, that people would still have some bigger tolerance maybe for the ruling party, because they will still remember this victory in the parliamentary elections, because again, even though they are percentage about 40% and for party lists, still they can have a lot of single mandate districts, and some people again predict from 160 seats to 200 seats. So do you see any signs of early presidential elections at all? And because the economic crisis is worsening, and again it's difficult to predict what's going to be in 2018, it's better to
Natasha, sure, such rumors are discussed, but they should change the constitution to do it, because depending on our constitution, there is no way for Putin to be re-elected earlier these elections. So they should change the constitution. I want to say. And Natasha, sorry, I must go now. Maybe.
Okay, thank you, Ekaterina. I understand.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Roma, and also the question for you. Previous elections showed us a very big rise of civic participation, and we saw so many people ready to go and vote, and not only they were ready to go and observe elections. What is the mood now? And there's some new projects appeared, like Citizen Observer and Sonar and so on. What is the situation now? Is it easy for you to find people to observe elections, and what are challenges?
It's slightly difficult, more difficult for us to find them now. It's partially because they're, sluggish, not interesting campaigning. The second situation is another strange to hear about such totalitarian country as ours. We managed to introduce a lot of our guys into commissions themselves. It was our idea of 2013, and now we don't have observers. We have members of commission who more or less affiliated with us, and we have contacts with them. And so it's not just observers; they're members of the commission. They gave their job to give out those ballots themselves. It's very strange. Before they were scared away in the 10 meters, don't touch this, don't come up to the table of the commission. Now they are sitting behind those tables. So we have a very complex situation. As I mentioned, we were managed to enlist 1,200 people in March. And we made a contract with them. They are not freelance, they're more or less official journalists. So that's why it was possible to Pamfilova to issue us accreditation. Of course, partially they left for the campaigning. They left our ranks to the headquarters of some candidates, but still I think that 800 of them will be observing. Another idea is to unite our data collection forces with other movements, other groups of people, and now we set up such thing like a Народный избирком, it's People's Central Election Commission, when we are going to collect data before the commissions, official commissions do it, and we published the data online beforehand, and we have been doing that since 2012. And the machinery, the machine is working in working order, and I think that we are now, maybe we'll have something 5,000 people or maybe more collecting those data from different movements and even maybe political parties, because they are as well interested in avoiding such a crime as we used to observe, a rewriting of final protocol when commission issues one results on the ground of the polling station, and they go to the higher level commission and they rewrite the final protocol, and we see difference between our copy and official data published online by on the Central Commission website. So we're trying to publish data beforehand. And I think that a huge number of people are going to participate in that endeavor as well. So it's early days yet. I'm still hoping about some surprises, and we left out completely the question about single mandate candidates. We were talking about parties and parties and parties, but don't forget what we now have mixed system, and it's new for us, maybe in a decade. And in this case, a lot of surprises, I think, will come from those guys who are running here and there all over Russia. It's 140 million people country. So we are still expecting, and Gudkov, for example, we are still waiting for him. He is a candidate in a single mandate district, and a lot of people, such well-known and with a good reputation, are trying to find their way to the new parliament. I think that situation might be like in Belarus. If you know that they have elections on the 11th of September, last Sunday. Of course, it was dominated by pro-governmental, pro-Lukashenko forces, but still a couple of representatives from the opposition parties managed to get into the parliament. So I think that we will have such political mavericks who will be in the ranks of the MPs, and they will, I think, present alternative point of view on the lantern of the parliament.
Mm-hmm. Will there be any international observation?
Yes, again, it's maybe a role of the Ms. Panfilova. Maybe it shows how things changed since the infamous Mr. Churov left the seat of the chairman. For the first time since last time we did have OSCE mission, observation mission. Now they came in full force. And they spread all over Russia, because we know that because they contact our regional coordinators and they work in some sort of a cooperation, exchanging information. And yes, in Moscow we have good contacts with them as well. So yes, we have a huge influx of international observers as well as fake observers. It's another problem for us, another bane in especially ex-Soviet Union region, when fake observers came to Azerbaijan, Armenia, and they say that everything is fine, whitewash everything, and that's their job, and that's why they are invited. But I think that OSCE mission and some other missions will be more or less impartial, and we count on their opinion.
Excellent. Let me ask you also about, really hope that Dmitry will be able still to join us, about actually Yabloko party, and Dmitry is running on the party list of this party, and also nominated in the single mandate district. Is it? Do you have the same perception that they have really very interesting and very new? Dmitry, hi Dmitry, can you hear us?
Yeah, can
Excellent.
You hear me?
Yes, perfect. Thank you for joining us. We know that you are very busy and just a few days before the elections, and with all the challenges. So let us give the floor to you. Could you please say why you're still participating in these elections with really predetermined results maybe, and with lots of violations, and why you still believe that you can change something? In the previous convocation of the State Duma, the fourth convocation. The Russian parliament was so faceless and so amorphous that people don't remember any deputies' names, and even the speaker of that fourth State Duma, Boris Gryzlov, said that the parliament is not a place for discussions. And the fifth State Duma was on the opposite, I would say, very, very loud and adopting lots of not even controversial or notorious laws, I would say very, very evil laws. Let us remind the audience, for example, one of the first laws on banning for Americans to adopt Russian orphans, or one of the last law of Yarovaya package, like or Big Brother surveillance law. So why you still believe that you can change the situation or you can do something good being elected? What's your motivation?
Because in my single mandate district, we have more than 3,000 volunteers, and they work every day and they help us. And I believe in our chances. I think that we can win in our district. But at the same time, we're at Yabloko party list because on base of Yabloko, and I hope that next week we'll have a independent fraction in the state parliament. Even small fraction can influence Russian policy, and fraction can change our legislation because we have a mixed system, and so the half of the seats will be given to the winners in the single mandate district, and these people usually vote more independently than deputies from the party lists. And I think that within 3 years we'll have a split of elite because we're entering the crisis, and we have a deficit budget, and it's covered by money from the reserve fund. And this money, according to expert estimates, it can be likely to be spent within 2 or 3 years. And after that, we'll have a big challenge for our power. And I think that's the split of elite. We can unite our efforts with some people from the government, from the even United Russia, because I know the moods in the parliament, and many deputies from the United Russia, they don't support this policy, and they want changes. But unfortunately, they're afraid of saying this loudly, because there is all people who are against our power, unfortunately.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit more about your district, who are competing against? What is your main campaign theme? How do you convince people to vote for you? What are the main problems there?
You know, I met more than 15,000 people in my district because I held more than 240 meetings, and I have 5 meetings a day.
Wow.
And I was really wondered that people are not focused on foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
People are focused on domestic issues, economical and social issues, and they want changes. They want independent court system. They want fair elections. They want the growth of economy. They want fight against corruption. And I think it's a good message, and people support this program. And I feel this support.
Do you hear?
Unfortunately, it's a bad connection, but
Yes.
can you...
Yes, we can hear you with some pauses. Dmitry, so we are here in Washington, D.C., and Washington, D.C. is a part of your district together with Boston, Miami, and Chicago. Do you have anything to say to your voters?
Yeah, my best regards. And I hope you will in our campaign and our team. We have a very good team, a lot of young people campaigning and canvassing, and I think that if I have 5,000 votes in the United States, it can be like resulting votes, because there's important votes, because we're like at this time we're moving neck to neck with my main opponent from the United Russia, and these 5,000 votes can be crucial for the victory.
Yes, and I'm very happy to say that we are in discussion here with your supporters from different regions, and you have both here, definitely. Well, good luck to you. We really wish you the best. Thank you for joining us. Sorry, the connection is bad, and sorry especially that you have those challenges in your campaign, but we really hope you overcome, and we really hope to see you and people like you in our next parliament. Thank you, Dmitry.
Thank you, Natalia.
And thank you, Roman. Really, really great insight. We hope to have some good news after Sunday. I really believe in my country. I really believe that people understand that it's not that nothing depends on us. Everything depends on us, and each vote counts. So.
Yeah, we all need this victory, because it can be a success story.
Yes, exactly. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. All the best to both of you, and to Ekaterina, who left already, and to thank you also for this great panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.